Hello YouTube, how's it going? This is the crossover and I'm back with another video. Today is going to be another one of my individual scouting reports for the 2022 NBA draft. And in today's video, we are going to be taking a look at Duke's center, Mark Williams. So without any further delay, let's get straight into the video. Moving on, we do have some stats to cover regarding Mark Williams. He is 20 years old, stands at 7 feet exactly, weighs about 243 pounds, and has a 7 foot 7 inch wingspan. As you guys can tell, Mark Williams has a very dominant build, as you can tell just by the weight and with the wingspan. I'm sure many of you guys, if you are watching this video, you've most likely watched Duke play at least once or twice this season. So I'm sure I don't have to tell you guys that Mark Williams is, very physically dominant out there at the collegiate level. So overall, just again, I don't think I really need to state much regarding his physical profile. Just very impressive, and I really like that wingspan. Just a very dominant player out there. Again, at the collegiate level. Moving on to his stats, this is his second year at Duke. Where he did average a very solid 12.2 points, 7.4 rebounds, 0.9 assists, 0.5 steals, and 2.8 blocks per game. Very, very solid stat line for the center. Again, not necessarily the most flashiest of stats, but again, if you're watching, Duke, if I'm sure everybody else, I'm sure everybody else has seen Duke play this season. A very efficient, very solid player for a Final Four contender this year. Moving on to the efficiency side of things, where he's also very impressive as well. 72.1% effective field goal percentage, which is very solid. Has shooting 72.7% from the free throw line, which again is very, very impressive for a center. And he also has a 21.4% defensive rebound percentage and a 13.2% offensive rebounding percentage, which I did want to include because I feel like some people might be put off by his rebounding stats, and I feel like they don't tell the whole story in terms of his prowess as a rebounder. So I just wanted to include the overall percentages of how many rebounds he's grabbing on both sides of the floor to kind of give you an indication into the kind of rebounder that Mark Williams is. Moving on to some of Mark Williams' strengths as a prospect. First up, I do want to discuss his rebounding prowess. As before, I did state that rebounding numbers do tend to lie, and I feel like with Mark Williams, that is definitely the case. Even though he is only grabbing 7.4 rebounds per game, he is one of the best rebounders in this class. You can put him in that conversation for arguably the best rebounder. I put him up there with a guy like Oscar Tshiebwe, maybe a guy like Christian Koloko, some other guys in that conversation, but Mark Williams is firmly in that conversation. What I really like about him is just his ability to come up with contested boards. He does a great job of doing that on both sides of the floor. On offense, he's able to keep possessions alive, was able to keep possessions alive for Duke. Sometimes he would have two people trying to box him out, and it just wouldn't matter. Just with that reach, just with how physically overwhelming he is, or how physically overwhelming he was at the collegiate level, he would just be able to rise up and come down with the rebound. He's able to get great positioning. He's able to locate himself and relocate himself and put him in positions in order to come down with the rebound, and that was very valuable as he was able to keep multiple possessions alive for Duke this season. And he also did a great job of that opposite thing or the same thing on the defensive side of the floor for Duke. He was able to end possessions for teams. Sometimes teams that were playing Duke, maybe they'd go on a run and whatnot. And sometimes, all you need to do is get that one stop as a team, right? If a team's hot, maybe all you need to do is get that one stop, kind of settle down on offense, run your sets, and, you can get a bucket, cut the momentum off, right? And Mark Williams would do a great job of just being able to come down with contested rebounds. Again, the same thing on offense, just it didn't matter who was around him. It seemed like every contested rebound Mark Williams was able to grab. And I really, really like that since, at the NBA level, when the game slows down in crunch time, you're going to need a center like that, a player who's going to be able to just grab the rebounds, keep possessions alive for you on the offensive side of the floor, and end possessions for the opposite team on the defensive side of the floor. Another area of, I guess, technically his defensive game, technically, even though his rebounding counts as both, more so on the defensive side of the floor. He's a very good shot blocker, again, just with that length, with that physicality. It seems like he can always get a hand on the ball whenever, a player is driving or entering his vicinity on the court. It seems like he's always just, even if he doesn't necessarily contest the shot, I feel like he always just gets his hands on the shot, or just his presence alters the shots. And he's a really good shot blocker with his right hand, where he's a lot quicker with his right hand compared to his left hand in terms of blocking shots and just altering shots in general. So maybe you can say that the left hand is maybe a little bit of concern, but typically with shot blockers, they're better blocking shots with their dominant hand, as most people are doing most things, right? You're usually better with your dominant hand than you are with your other hand. So for Mark Williams, awesome shot blocker with his right hand, and even then, even when he does only have his left hand, he's still able to bother anybody that tries to drive on him or around him. Moving on to another area of his game that I think it's definitely spotty, but I think that he's definitely shown some flashes, and that is his perimeter defense, or just his pick and roll defense in general. Now, Mark Williams, we'll talk more about the pick and roll part and the weakness concerns, but overall, I think that, or just to kind of briefly talk about his perimeter play, I feel like there's been a lot of bad reps for him this season in terms of switching out on the perimeter, or whether it's icing the perimeter, in pick and roll situations or whatnot. But I feel like he has shown some flashes as being able to switch out on the perimeter and guard the perimeter. Again, just with that length, he really relies on his length, on his upper body to contest shots. He doesn't really use his bottom half of his body, which is something that we will definitely talk about later. But again, just with that 7'7" wingspan, he is able to contest a lot of shots, even out on the perimeter. And we will talk more about his pick and roll defense later on in the video. But again, it is something that I could see him becoming adequate at the next level. We'll just put it that way. Moving on to the offensive side of the floor, where Mark Williams is a great finisher on the basket, as you might think. As given that he has a 72% effective field goal percentage, he's just a very solid finisher around the rim. He pretty much he has a very high catch radius. He has pretty good hands. He's able to catch balls and just finish around the basket efficiently. Whether he's able to dunk, or he's able to just get layups and pardon my next bullet point also kind of plays into this, where he has a very solid, a little hook floater where he likes to come off his left shoulder or spin off his left shoulder and kind of hit like a little righty floater, like teardrop-ish shot. And that's his go-to move when he can't just, dunk or just, finish easily right around the basket. So again, I like to see that from him. I think that's something that can definitely translate to the next level. It's nice to see him have, a move that he can go to outside of just dunking. And that's very impressive, as, we've seen in the playoffs, even this previous playoffs in the NBA, that, having a center that's able to attack mismatches is extremely important. To be able to have a center that you can rely on, to that you can trust and get the ball down low, to attack those mismatches is something that is very valuable. So it's very nice to see Mark Williams not only have that righty floater, but just be a very efficient finisher around the rim. As again, really nobody in college basketball could consistently contest his shots at the basket. And even though this isn't necessarily a great strength, I do think he has shown some upside as being able to hit cutters, kind of like in that free throw line area, kind of like what the role that kind of Steven Adams plays for the Memphis Grizzlies this year. I think Mark Williams has shown some upside as being able to do that. He had really nice synergy, as I stated here, with Paolo Banchero, where Paolo Banchero would cut back, backdoor cut his man a couple times. Where I have seen him backdoor cut his man a couple times this season, and Mark Williams would hit him cutting. So again, that's something that I think can be empowered and improved on at the NBA level with better coaching, of course. Moving on to some of the concerns I do have with Mark Williams as a prospect. First up, really my main concern is just his pick and roll defense in general. Now, I'm a bit conflicted with this, because a lot of times when you watch Duke, Mark Williams is almost exclusively a drop coverage big. So for those of you that don't know what drop coverage entails, it's basically in pick and roll situations, right? Pick and drop coverage basically means that the guard basically has to do all the work. He has to come off the screen. He has to get over the screen and defend his man, while the big man drops, and he drops and kind of prevents the guard from attacking the paint. And the problem that I do have with Mark Williams in drop coverage is that he can get picked on at times. Not at times, a lot of times. Through a majority of film that I have watched, he has had a bad habit of getting attacked, and it's because he drops back so much, and because of how big he is, it's hard for him to kind of step up to contest guards. So a lot of times guards, as I stated here, are able to just snake dribble the screen, which basically means that if I'm dribbling and my man sets the screen here, I kind of just wrap the ball around him, and then I kind of come around on the other side of the screen. So then I have an open shot because Mark Williams isn't quick enough to get back out onto my shot. And even when Mark Williams is switched onto bigs or onto guards, right? And whenever he does switch, let's say in a pick and roll situations, he's just a bit slow. And as I stated before, he relies too much on his upper body right now, that and he doesn't necessarily use his like his foot speed is kind of slow. His footwork is okay. I'll talk about it in just a second, but just because he's just too lumbering and he relies on his upper body so much that it allows guards, because if it doesn't matter how big you are, if I'm out 30 foot away from the hoop and you're trying to you're just relying on your upper body to contest me, I could just be like, all right, I'm just gonna sidestep, and what are you gonna do? I mean, I get that you're huge, but I mean, still, like, you're out my like there's nothing Mark Williams could do in those kind of situations, and I've seen it against Miami, Virginia Tech. I saw it at times in the tourney this year. I've seen it at different moments in the year where Mark Williams will kind of just get picked on in pick and roll coverage, and that really worries me. And another big thing, or the big proponent that I think that could really fix this, is his footwork. And the reason why I think that his footwork is the main issue is because usually with bigs, if you're as big as Mark Williams is, let's say in a scenario where the pick and roll is happening on the right side of the hoop, and so the man would be attacking on the left side, right? So that means Mark Williams would be sitting like this, kind of turned his body to the side this way, right? So then he would kind of keep his feet moving. But the problem with Mark Williams is that he needs to stay like that. He needs to stay tilted because he's too big enough, or he's too big to the point where if he tries to level up with the defenders a lot of times and then kind of switch and keep his feet moving. It's like, Mark, you're too big. You're not going to be able to keep up with the guards at all. He needs to just stay. If he's forcing a guard a certain way, just stay like that. Don't try to get even with the guard and try to, switch your feet around. Like, don't do that, because you're too slow. Like, at the end of the day, you're 7 foot, 240 pounds. Like, you're not going to be able to just keep up laterally with a guard, footwork wise. There's very few 7 footers in the planet that could do that, right? And Mark Williams is just not one of those guys. So ultimately, I would love to see him. I feel like that's an issue that can be worked out, definitely. And I feel like that's what I stated before in my strengths part with Mark Williams, is that if the footwork issue is kind of worked out, then there's definitely upside for him being a very capable pick and roll defender at the next level. But I feel like that footwork is the main issue, and I feel like all it takes is a coach telling him to not try to get even with guards. If you're forcing a guard a certain way after they're coming off the ball screen, keep them that way. Don't get your feet mixed up, because once Mark Williams tries to get even with them and kind of force them another way and kind of keep them moving, like, he's not Kawhi Leonard. He's not one of these quicker. He's not a wing where he could just move quick. We just keep up laterally with these guards. He needs to just stay in the stance that he was when they're coming off the screen. And I feel like if he does that, I feel like he would have been a much more efficient, or a much better pick and roll defender than he was this season with Duke. So moving on to some other concerns, not really anything crazy. But when he is in the paint, he can have some bad habits. He does tend to keep his right forearm on defenders, as stated before. He's a much better shot blocker with his right hand than with his left hand, so he does have a bad habit of keeping his right forearm on ball handlers, and that does cause him to get called for fouls a lot. And it also happens in the opposite scenario where he has his left forearm on them, and he's looking to block the shot with their right hand. So that does happen a good amount of times. But just cleaning that up, and he does tend to kind of have to wind up to block shots sometimes, just given his size. So these are more minute concerns compared to my pick and roll concerns with him. But they're still concerns nonetheless. I feel like they can be worked out at the next level. But my final concern is just with that left-handed floater. As I stated, that right-handed, teardrop is really good for him. The left-hand teardrop definitely needs some work. It's definitely a lot more of a clunkier, motion for him. I feel like he kind of takes too long to get it off, and it can lack arc at times, and it can kind of be all over the place. So just getting more repetitions with the left-handed floater, I feel like, could even add to his versatility, as an offensive big. So overall, with Mark Williams, I like Mark Williams. I don't love Mark Williams. I think I don't understand the rationale in having a big with pick and roll defensive concerns like he does, having him as a top 15 pick, I think that's a bit ridiculous. I have him in the 25. I have him about 24 on my board right now as I'm looking right now. And my board is really just based on the players that I've covered on the channel so far. So that encompasses about 31 prospects. So he's right around 25. I might move him up a little bit more, but I feel like 25 is pretty solid for him. He's gonna be a rotation player. I feel like at the NBA level for a long time. He's not gonna be a star. He's not gonna be even a really good starter. I feel like just being a solid rotational piece is a good enough career and the most likely career for Mark Williams. That pick and roll defense, as I stated, is my biggest concern. But I feel like just working on the footwork issue could really help him go a long way into becoming a starter in the NBA for a long time. But he's going to be a lob threat guy who can maybe hit some cutters for you with some playmaking upside. Good finisher around the rim, good shot blocker, drop coverage big mainly, even if the footwork does work out. Just because if he's getting attacked by Syracuse and Virginia Tech guards, what's going to happen when he's going up against Fred VanVleet or Darius Garland or LaMelo Ball? Insert whatever point guard's name you want. So yeah, I feel like Mark Williams is going to be a solid big for a long time in the NBA, and really maybe a really good starter at the very highest end outcome, but just a solid NBA career. And I don't think it's going to be anything more or anything less than that for the Duke big man. And that's the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think about Mark Williams in the comments. Was it being a bit too harsh with him, having him, in the latter first round on my big board? Do you guys think that he should be a lot higher? Do you guys think I have him about right, or do you guys think he should be even lower? Let me know what you guys think about Mark Williams in the comments. And just for the record, I do think that Walker Kessler is a better prospect than Mark Williams just because of the shooting upside. And I feel that some of the concerns with Walker Kessler, I've seen a lot of people say that he can easily be attacked in pick and roll situations. I'm like, well, it's kind of the same thing with Mark Williams. So I just want to quickly state that I do have him behind Walker Kessler and Jalen Duren. I have him neck and neck with Christian Koloko, and I also have Ishmael Kamagate ahead of Mark Williams. However, that is the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, and if you have subscribed, please share the video with a friend. I want to keep growing the channel, keep growing the community that we have here. So again, that's the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and peace. Have a blessed day.